Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lawn Care CEO Podcast Special Edition. Special edition in part because I'm sitting in London, England right now. I didn't even tell Brian this, who's our guest today, but I'm sitting in London, England, and it's 7 o'clock at night, and I'm in this little podcast, well, not even a podcast studio, just this little co-working space. And it's so cool to, first of all, be in London, so I can say I'm broadcasting live from London, which is very fun. But also just a way, my wife was like, hey, you can work anywhere in the world. And I'm like, yeah, I can. It's a cool part of the job. She's making sure I do try working from everywhere in the world. So we're testing that out.
Nice.
Anyway, live from London, England, Lawn Care CEO Podcast. Very excited to be with you. So today, those of you who are just listening to the podcast or maybe don't know my background. So before I started helping lawn care businesses figure out the business side of lawn care, the CEO side of lawn care, I worked at a company called Infusionsoft. Now, Infusionsoft was one of the original companies that was like, hey, we're going to create an all-in-one sales and marketing software for small business. And they had great all-in-one softwares for large companies, but there's nothing for really the small business owner. At least that was our assertion at Infusionsoft. We're going to go create something that's going to be unique, and it's going to link your payment system with your email system, with your CRM, and we're going to link all those things together, and we're going to create this really cool thing. I say we. I wasn't one of the founders, but I was there around them when we were creating this. And for a long time, I learned and taught and watched businesses flourish through the power of automation. In fact, our CEO there, who I probably talk about a lot because he was one of my mentors, a really powerful, just very cool CEO. I thought he ran a really amazing business. His name was Clayton Mask. He used to say, he's like, on my tombstone, when I die, I want you to write these words: automation frickin' works. It was like, that was his saying. It was like, automation freaking works. And for years, I taught this principle, which was people buy when they're ready to buy, not when you're ready to sell. I would teach, hey, listen, you got to have the number of touch points. We got to make sure that we're dripping and helping people warm them up. We talked about life cycle marketing. The idea of life cycle marketing is we're going to market to our customers for the entire customer journey, from the time that they first raise their hand all the way through to the time that they make the purchase, all the way through to the time that we upsell them, all the way through to the time that they're raving fans, giving us 5-star reviews and referrals. And that we haven't done our job right if we haven't designed a customer journey that takes us from the very beginning all the way through to the very end. And so one of the things that we recommend for every CEO that we ever meet in the lawn care business, and to be fair, a lot have solved this problem already, but one of the things we recommend is that first you find an automating tool, a central place, a hub for your customer journey. And once you've found your hub, your central place for your customer journey, that you maximize your use of it. Because for every little piece of thing we can automate, it saves us infinite hours. Like literally infinite hours. Forevermore, I don't have to push renew my credit card when the credit card expires on a recurring account. Forevermore, once I solve that problem once, I can solve it a million times. And to me, this is along with the advent of the internet and the advent of a few things, this is the competitive edge of our day for small business. Because of technology, I can be very small, but behave really big. And that to me is game changing. Game changing. I can compete with the Rockefellers with a computer, a microphone, and a little piece of software. I can be as polished, as proficient as some of the bigger companies that I'm competing against. And so for me, this is a really important podcast. For those of you who haven't yet solved this or you haven't solved it well, we've invited Brian
Schlichting, that's all right.
Schlichting. I wasn't close. I wasn't close. It's okay. You can call me Dan Ralph. That's what they always call me. But Brian is the CEO and founder of an automation company, a software that helps bring all in one your sales and marketing software, but even your production pieces of software into one thing. And makes it like the thing that I love about Spraye, and I love that what Brian's building is he's making it lawn care business owner friendly, where it's easy to implement, it's easy to use, and it doesn't require you to have just a little bit of coding knowledge in your mind to like sort it out, figure it out. So I'm very excited to have Brian on the podcast. He's been with Spraye since 2018.
We did start it in 2018.
Did I do my research right?
Live with paying customers in January of 2020. So,
January 2020. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess in software years, that's like, is it like dog years that every year in software is like 7 years in real life? So in software years, a very long time you've been in business.
Yeah. So we're infants anymore, but we're not quite grown-ups.
Yeah. So Brian, welcome to the podcast. We're super excited to have you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Tell us how this all began. Like, what was the moment where you go, oh, I know what I need to do. I need to start a software company.
Yeah. So my wife, it's a super interesting story. I mean, it's interesting to me. Sometimes you just don't see things coming. So my wife, Caitlin, and I were running an online marketing and web development agency, basically, right? So we did all kinds of online marketing. We built websites. Sometimes we built some custom apps on the back end. And one of an acquaintance of ours ran a lawn treatment company. So only did weed control fertilization. He was running it with his dad. His dad had run this thing for several years leading up to this. And he was going to be taking over from his dad. And, his dad's in his 70s now, but everything was run out of spreadsheets, if that, right? So spreadsheets, paper. And, our acquaintance came and said, this isn't going to work for me when I run this business. And so he had looked through probably half a dozen other softwares. And he said, we just can't find a software that is really right for us. Either it's too expensive or too hard to use or isn't specialized enough to actually be what we need it to be. He came to me with a notebook paper with 12 bullet points on it. And he's like, hey, can you guys build this for us? And so, we had several conversations and we said, okay, yeah, we can build it. But we said, let's build it.
The naive young entrepreneur walking into a trap of years of effort in that simple little moment.
We had walked into traps like this before, so we didn't come at it.
Not so naive.
We didn't come at it so blindly. We had, you always have hopes for these things, but at that point it was like, this isn't to get it started. This isn't this mountain of a project to get it started, to just get to where he wants to be. And then let's see where we're at. Yeah. Right. And, you always find out you're not where you want to be.
By the way, that's how really Infusionsoft got started. Is they started in a similar way. They had one of their clients, they were building custom software. One of their clients came and said, hey, we have these real estate agents. They want to send an email, wait a few days and send another email. Can you build something like that? And they were like, oh, and he said, if you build it, I'll sell a bunch of them to my clients and, and the rest is history.
I didn't know that started in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
So we built it. It fit those 12 bullet points.
Yeah.
And then,
well, and understand, I think that the interesting thing about that is like both starting with like out of like entrepreneur need, where it's like an entrepreneur goes, listen, I need something to work that isn't working. And I have this vision of what I want to craft and create my business. And so I'm just going to go build it or have someone build it if I can't figure it out myself. And I think that's kind of an inspired way of thinking about these kinds of things. It's the heart of innovation. And to innovate particularly around marketing and customer journey, to me is, I don't want to say, it's like half of what an entrepreneur should be thinking about is how do I perfect this kind of flow of customers through my business? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And just like you said before, from beginning to end. And now these, what we would call a vertical software, kind of what we are, vertical CRM. You can specialize to that operations piece to really get down and dirty into the things that people are doing every day that these sort of what I would call do-it-all softwares aren't able to do, because they just can't do it for every industry. But yeah, so got a few more than 12 bullet points on our list now. But yeah, so we beta tested it first on the company that came to us asking for it, and he used it for a year, and then we beta tested it for part of that year on a dozen other people. We went to what was GIE back then. It's Equip now, I think, in October of 2019, and just talked to people. We weren't selling. We people would ask, but we said, we aren't signing people up, but we can sign you up to communicate with you when we do go live. And we just interviewed people. We demoed what we had, and we said, what are we missing? What do we still need for this to work for you? And we took a ton of really valuable information from that show, and went back to work for a couple of months and launched in January of 2020, right before the madness started.
Oh yeah. Well, probably good madness for you, actually.
It wasn't so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. One of the things that I've told a couple of my like companies that are evaluating new software, like they're looking at you guys, they're looking at Service Autopilot, they're looking at Real Green, they're looking at like a handful of tools, and they're evaluating which one they should do. I remind them that when you're signing up with the software, you're not just signing up with the software, you're signing up with a company. Like, it's the people that actually work at the software place. You're getting a team of people working on software, and you get to be in partnership with them or not, depending on who you are and what company you work with and choose. So talk to me a little bit about what guiding principles for you when you think about your experience with the customers you're working with, and what maybe some of your guiding principles as far as design are concerned. Like, what are you thinking about as you're building this tool that obviously is working great for a lot of clients?
Yeah, I mean, so you're kind of talking about a couple of different things, guiding principles when it comes to design, guiding principles, maybe what I would say more of in general.
Kind of core values almost of the company,
so
right?
one of them is help first. I think that's kind of the biggest one that I think should guide most companies. But we would
underline the word should guide, right? Doesn't always, though.
So I would say no matter what, from our developers to our support staff, to Caitlin and myself, the first thing that should always come to mind when communicating with customers, when talking to them, is just, how can we help this person right now, right? So, like, is there something wrong with the software? Maybe we need to figure that out. Is there something that I can do on demos that can help these people without me selling Spraye to them? Because these are business people. I talk to hundreds of these business people that are doing the same things every year. So can I help them in the meantime? Something I can dig into that they might need help.
And just to give like a little behind the scenes, like even before this, every time we host a podcast, I'm always like, hey, do you want to promote anything? It's like, no, just want to help, which is cool. That's kind of rare, right? And I appreciate that the spirit of that is kind of the way we operate at Lawn Care CEO. We call it, we win through excellence, where it's like, if we just do good and we help people, and we also call it people before profits, where it's like, if we just put people first, like, the money's going to flow. We're not worried about it. We're just going to like try not to put our brains first on revenue, but first on taking care of people. So I love that philosophy.
Yep. So that's one of them. And we use that on, sort of on, not on the design principles, although somewhat, right? So it's like deciding what to do. How many of the companies that we are current. So that's another thing that we really focus on, is just how can we improve to help our current companies that are using Spraye. So yes, do we want to build more potential for people that might sign up? Sure, of course, you got to sell, and that's part of it. But we focus first on people who have already put their faith in us, essentially. So pay off that faith.
Yeah, that's cool.
So how do you see that in real life? Our users, I think most of them would tell you, if we ask for something from Spraye, if we say, hey, we'd love to see this, maybe 100% of those things don't get done. Certainly 100% of those things don't get done. But a ton of our users would say, yeah, I requested this and it was done. And look, it's something I specifically requested. And so you see that in real life we're driven not by what's just in our heads and what we can dream up, even though we do that a lot. We're driven more by what are we actually hearing from our customers and what are they telling us that can help them rather than what we try to focus on. So that's probably those are two really big things. We also, we believe in spending too much time on support. Probably is probably the best.
Oh, I'm sure that's music to their ears.
Yeah, I mean,
as much as it's painful to your pocketbook,
it is. But
so one of the things that I remember chatting with a business owner, and he put it this way, which I thought was really actually pretty wise. He said, "Listen, softwares, no matter what software you use, there's always going to be kind of a business model structure behind it that they're thinking through, that software company's thinking through. This is kind of how your business could and should flow. This is how your business can and should interact with the software. And this is how, so it's like, hey, this is how the shirt should fit. And you should wear it as a shirt and not as like try to make it pants. Like it needs to fit." And so I've always said that, hey, listen, you need to like adjust your business to match the software rather than trying to get the software to match your business. And if you do it that in that order, you're going to be a lot happier because softwares, first of all, we're not going to customize the software to your individual business. It sounds like you will more than most, but at the same time, it's like we should like allow. So if your software says, "Hey, have your guys clock in and clock out at the job," and you're not currently doing that, you should have your guys clock in and clock out of the job. That's what I mean. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, how would you like? If I'm a CEO thinking about implementing a new software, how should my brain be oriented to thinking about how I need to adjust my business, if at all, to meet the software or match the software? Talk about that getting started period and what people should be planning.
Yeah, I mean, so first, we do operate a little bit differently in that we come from even just that whole onboarding process. We come at it from a pretty consultative approach as much as possible, meaning we'll talk to companies about how they're currently pricing services. And then instead of just saying, okay, we'll just plug those in, or here's how that's going to work in Spraye, we'll say, did you notice that did you notice that this pricing isn't consistent in a lot of places? Or because a lot of people, they've got these years old. I mean, this is just a very specific example, but they've got these years old pricing structures that a lot of times they got from a competitor, or they, however it came up, and they've become convoluted in some ways and in ways that aren't necessarily driving good growth and profit. But that's one way, just sort of a specific example that we'll dig into that stuff early on. So I want you to understand that my answer to your original question is coming from a little bit of a very sort of, we go at that in an in-depth way. But I would say the way to approach that in general is try to utilize whoever you're working with at a software that you sign up with. If it's not a completely self-serve software, so if it's a software that you're getting some sort of concierge level service out of, or any support at all, try to ask good questions. If something doesn't seem to work into whatever your current flow is, say, here's what I typically would do. Here's how I'm doing it now. What would you recommend the best way to do that in your software is? How can I best use your software to accomplish this? Or is there an alternative? And so I'm
in London, not in Italy, but there's that image, right, of God and Adam, like their fingers are almost, it's like, how do we connect the fingers between the software way of doing it, my current way of doing it, so that we have something that's workable?
Yeah. And I mean, I just think asking somebody who's intimately familiar with the software that you're moving into is going to be the best person to ask about that, because they know the limitations, but they also know sort of the flexibilities, right? So it's like, just because something isn't real clear in the software, there may be a really great way to do that you just can't see.
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably my best advice, is just being really open with whoever you're working with at the software. And that's the other thing, is like, don't just throw your hands up, or just, you can always try a million things, but if you have a good support team with the software.
Here, by the way, that was when I was because I was working at Infusionsoft, but they gave us our own accounts to start on the businesses with. So like every time I was working on my account, I always had the help chat up. And anytime I ran into any issue, and I felt a little embarrassed because I worked with these people, and I would just be like, "Hey, how do I do this again?" And I just had a back and forth with them, and it was anyway so much easier than me trying to figure it out or make a mistake and have cause problems in the business.
Yeah,
So
software in general, forgetting about CRM or any of that. If you What I would say is if you find yourself like kind of bashing your head a little bit when you're in any kind of
mhm.
software, again, if you have any kind of support team behind that software, reach out because they've typically heard it before, have a
Yeah,
way around it, or they know that you're doing something that you could be doing much better, essentially.
yep.
Yeah.
And there is like a level of, and this is the other thing that is hard to swallow when you're moving to a software for the first time, or you're transitioning from a software that maybe not serving your needs, like maybe a jobber is getting too small or too elementary. You need better reporting, you need better automations, or you're moving from QuickBooks or whatever you're in, moving to something new. I think there's this moment where I have to kind of explain to some of the people that I coach, hey, this is like learning Spanish. It's a whole new language, and it takes a long time and a lot of repetition to become fluent in that language. And once you're fluent, it's great, and Spanish is a lovely language, but be prepared for a little bit of pain going from speaking English to speaking Spanish. Like, I know it's different based on the different softwares, but what's the general time horizon to where you go, okay, from start to I'm pretty fluent. I know where to click. I know what to do. What's the time horizon on that?
There are there's a lot of input into that question, but I'd say just
Yeah, for
generally
sure.
speaking, sort of
It's like saying, how long does it take to learn Spanish? It's like, well, are you immersed in Spanish?
right.
You can do it in maybe 6 months, but if you're just taking a Duolingo course, you're never going to learn it, right?
Yeah, and I mean to your point, how how dedicated are you to learning it? Like how
Yeah.
are you putting this sort of on the back burner and saying, I'll get to it when I get to it? Well, it could be a while. Typically, I would say it's a fair expectation to really know most of what you need to know in 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that software wide. I'm saying specific to our software. What I would
Yeah.
say
And I feel like, to your credit, you're probably one of the easier
there, I won't say we're the easiest
implementations.
anymore because our software does a lot. And so, is
Yeah.
it easy to get up and running and just use? Yes.
And that's like a phenomena. That's a phenomena of software in general. Like, the great challenge of software is, how do I make something very complex very user friendly? Because it's like the duel between powerful and easy and simple, right?
Yep.
Like, that has to be on your brain all the
All the time.
time.
All the time. All the time. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's foremost among. I shouldn't say foremost, but one of the foremost thoughts of
It's among the strategic challenges of software in
yeah.
general, and specifically software designed for somebody who isn't doesn't have a software person or an IT person on their team. It's really just them. It's like, how do I, and by the way, like, it's a miracle that this little device I'm holding in my hands, that my 4 year old, my iPhone, my 4 year old can pop it open. I don't have a 4 year old. My 4 year old niece can pop it open, like find Amazon and order shoes. That's her favorite thing to do. Is like, show you, like, can I shop on your phone? And it's like, how incredibly skilled is the designer of a device that a 4 year old can pop it open and get work done. It's miracles
Incredible.
to me. And so it's the great challenge, right, of software, is the ability to kind of bridge that
Yeah.
gap.
Yeah. I mean, and
Um,
especially when you go from, when we first launched, we pretty much only had one man crews running our software, right? And
yeah,
now
yeah,
we've got teams in the dozens that are running our software, and the different
yeah,
needs in A and B is pretty vast. And so, in being able to have a software that A can step in and use for his own business, and B this whole team can use, and it still works. Yeah, it's incredibly challenging, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fun to solve those challenges too.
So fun, and such a brilliant. It's such a brilliant puzzle and one worthy of our time and effort. And it's the reason why you should never try to build your own software. You should always hire a Spraye or whoever to go help you. So that being said, I want to talk a little bit about this customer journey we talked about at the beginning. We used to call it lifecycle marketing, where we imagine we had this horizontal graph that we would show. I'm sure you've seen it from Infusionsoft. And we would say, hey, we're going to start with lead nurture. And then from lead nurture, we're going to move to sales, and from sales into customer satisfaction into upsell, and then upsell into referrals and kind of the customer wow, we call it. Walk me through I don't know, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but if I were to do a bit of a automation audit in my own business, what are the 4 or 5 automative campaigns that probably are the most critical? If I were going to start with, if I could only automate one thing, what would I spend my first dollar automating and then move my way out in a lawn care business? What are some of the automations you think, man, I'd really want to make sure we nail these things first? Because I do think you could try to bite off the whole apple and it's a bit overwhelming. It takes a long time to develop a very robust automation structure. And so if you're going to say, hey, here are 3 automations you should nail tomorrow as soon as possible, and then work your way from there, what would they be? What would be your top automations?
You're going to, so I think you probably will be somewhat surprised by what I think. Maybe. So I think the number one automation you should put in place is a welcome automation, honestly. And I think it should follow somewhat and this is lawn care specific. I don't want to get in.
Yeah, because you primarily deal with fertilization weed control only companies,
yep.
Hence Spraye,
yep.
right?
I think that welcome automation is huge to set the stage for what you're doing. So to head off concerns, so nothing happens overnight. These lawn care programs that you're implementing, that these business owners are implementing, especially if you're coming into a lawn that's got problems, that's got issues. But basically, when a customer signs up, being proactive and saying, "Thanks for signing up. Here's what to expect in the next several months," right? And then 2 weeks later, we've completed your first service, your first application. You're seeing X, Y, and Z. No reason to panic. This is expected. Here's what else you should expect as we go forward. And sort of placing that, I would even say, go all the way out to possibly 6 months. And not. It's going to head off a lot of being proactive about a lot of issues that might come up. It may save you some phone calls. But
a lot of my clients, honestly, their highest cancellation rate is within that first 6 months, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's natural, but sort of you want to build that relationship, in my opinion, more than anything. And yes, automating their other parts are going to be valuable, but this is something it can be something you don't have to think about. Your customers are going to get this communication for the first 6 months. You're going to build a relationship. You're going to, these are the types of customers that after 3 months and you've communicated with them, 3 times and done 2 services for them, they're going to be like, these guys are awesome. I know exactly what's happening. I know what to expect.
Totally on the ball. I know their name. I would also always tell companies that we sometimes forget after the sale that we still have to market to our clients for 2 reasons. Number one, we need to seed the relationship so that when we do say, hey, did you know that you have army ants in your backyard? That they trust that recommendation so that we can upsell them, take care of the problems. And then 2, if I'm going to refer a company, I have to know their name. And I know it's crazy, but I have a lot of service companies that have come and work in my house. I do not remember their name. I have recurring companies that come to my house that I don't know their name. Like my pest control company, I'm telling you right now, I could not tell you the name of the company that does my pest control. And even if I like their service, I couldn't recommend them because I don't know them. I don't have a relationship with them. They're a line item on my budget. Yep. That's all they are. And so to build that relationship, I could probably agree with that. What's your number 2? So if number 1 is the welcome campaign, and I get that checked off, and I like that you said it's not just an email, It's a series of probably what 6 or 7 emails over a period of 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, don't send emails. Like I'm a huge proponent of not just sending emails to send emails. Don't be like, well, Brian said and Dan said send 6 emails, but I don't have 6 emails worth of information. Well, fine, send 3. Whatever good information you have, that's great. But so don't send it just to send it. People will not. They'll realize you sent it just to send it, and
Yeah.
they'll stop paying attention to what you're saying. Right. So make sure you have good information in there. So that's number one. I think that's number one. Number two, I would say. Probably, and I'll go all the way back. So top 3 or 4. So number 2, I think, is probably like real time upsells. So like you see something on the lawn that you can handle. So like ants is a good specific example. So if you treat for fire ants in the South, for instance, and you notice that there's signs of fire ants and you need them to be treated, being able to click on a button from the technician screen that will automatically trigger an estimate to get sent for fire ants. And then the customer can automatically just say, yep, I want it, sign up, and then you can schedule it whenever.
You may have just blown my mind. I feel like that's such a hard thing to solve, but it's like every company should do that. Like it should be part of the technician's checklist. There should be a question: is there anything we can upsell? And by the way, we can spiff and take care of our technicians who do this well because we're receiving new revenue, so we can spend a little. But that if there's a little button that just says, "Hey, send estimate on this," and it's like, "Hey, your technician noted that," blah 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 blah. And by the way, click here to accept. Like if you can automate that moment, that's brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
And by the way, like the easiest money you'll make is that money right there.
Well, somewhat agreed, but agreed. It is super easy. That's easy money.
Is there easier money?
I don't know, but there is maybe as easy money that I think people miss. I think people generally miss it, or not generally, but a lot of.
Okay, so I love it. So it's funny that you're doing the back half of the life cycle is the customer welcome and then the customer upsell, essentially the real time upsell.
There is. Yeah, I mean, getting new customers is always going to be harder than taking care of your existing customers. And if you can take care of them and earn more revenue along the way, that's incredible.
Yeah. And we don't have to be all callous and capitalistic about it. We can say taking better care of our customers. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's like
they need it. It's not like you're selling them things they don't need. Like that's not it. You're not just selling them to sell. You're selling because it's something that you do a great job of and they might need. So.
Yeah, because we're all lazy, and if somebody says, "Hey, that problem you have, I can take care of it," we're like, "Oh yeah, probably should."
Yep.
Yeah. Love it.
So number 3 is reviews and referrals. I'm going to place those together.
Okay.
So when you complete services, having some sort of automated review request. Reviews are, especially in local business. Again, this is very specific to lawn care because this is more generally true of local businesses. But that map search in Google where things pop up, where you're close to because it's a local service, it's so huge. It's I would say it's maybe the most important marketing piece that you have is being able to rank there.
I call it the new Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that used to be the thing. Everyone was like AAA lawn care because you wanted to rank first in the Yellow Pages. And now you get to rank first in Yellow Pages if you have the most reviews and your local SEO is on point.
That's right. So get good reviews. That's reviews and then referrals. So, there are referral softwares out there that'll handle that referral process also so that you don't have to touch it. Basically, when you get the referrals, it happens, where you aren't having to go apply a referral credit or apply, so we can integrate with those things, but whatever you're using might integrate with them. So
have you seen any cool referral strategies that you feel like really work?
I'm going to recommend a software because I think it's really cool the way it works.
Yeah.
There's a software called Clicky that basically handles it all as it sends out prepaid cards for referrals rather than trying to. And that's like real, that's real to those people. So it is going to come at a cost to you, obviously, but what are you willing to pay for a new customer?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah. I don't know what the dollar amount is I'd pay for a 5-star review, but it's close to $100
oh, 5-star
probably.
reviews. Yeah, 5-star reviews are maybe
It's
yeah.
it's probably, I don't know. I'd be actually some interesting research to try to figure out how valuable one 5-star review is. Like if I were going to go pay for one. And by the way, don't pay for one. Google hates that, and they'll get mad at
Well,
you.
it's also it's against their policies. It's worse than
It's
they hate
against their
their
policy.
policies.
So sending a gift card is pretty close. But
Well, I was talking about referrals, but for reviews,
oh, for referrals.
yeah, hmm
Mm.
you could give gifts to people who give reviews and say we give them to everybody. That doesn't, it doesn't matter if it's a 3-star review or a 2-star. I'm going to go off topic on this for
Okay,
a
go.
little bit, but
Yeah.
still on topic, but not for automations. So I actually I think that one bad review that you can clearly and quickly and concisively handle in public. So like reply to that bad review and make sure that you make it right, and that it can be seen that you made it right. I think that's more valuable than a 5-star review, quite frankly.
So I had a really good example of this. We had a client. I have a client that I'm on their leadership team, and we were looking through the reviews, and they were 4.9. I was like, oh, I wonder what happened here. And they had a 1 5-star, 1 1-star review, and the owner just replied. I read his reply. It went something like this. It went, "Hey, Phil," or whatever his name was. Um, am I getting this wrong, or don't you work for our competitor? I really think that integrity in the industry is important, and I want to make sure that people understand what's going on. Like, and he did it in such like a gently diplomatic way that if I would have read that, I would have been like, I am signing up for this. I don't even need the service. I just want to like award the guy whose competitor is trying to like sabotage his perfect reputation.
Yeah, but I mean,
So I agree. I think that taking care of the 1-star reviews, at least when I'm shopping, is an important part of how I feel about that company.
I look for the bad reviews,
Mm-hmm.
because for a ton of reasons. I never. It's hard for me to trust it. Like if you got 1,000 and it's 5.0, I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Something's going to go wrong one day. And how are they?
I've always thought that the best review status is something like 351 reviews with 4.9 stars. I'm not even sure I want a 5-star. I might give myself a 1-star review just to bring down the average to 4.9.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's reviews and referrals. I think is number 3. I'll go back.
All right, and
I'll
then
go back to
and
the
then
other
number
one on number 4.
and then number 4. What's number 4?
You should automate the follow up process for your estimates rather than trying to do
Mm,
it. So um,
I really agree with that one.
I don't think any of those. I don't think any of those in my mind are really optional though.
Well, here's the fun part. I totally agree with you, and yet I'm like, listen, man, we're going to take care of these things one at a time. Which one are we going to handle first? But we should have every company within the sound of my voice here, the tens of listeners here at Lawn Care CEO Podcast. Like you guys all should have just checked in your mind, do I have a great system for automating those four pieces? And if I don't, I think the order he gave was a great order for saying, let's go solve those one at a time using the tool that I have. And if you don't have a tool that can do that, I hate to say this, but you're in for some work over the next 90 days to go get one, install it, learn the language, learn to speak Spanish, and then be ready to kind of roll out that software in a meaningful way in your business. It is. I hate making really like superlative statements, but it's on the list of the most important things a lawn care business can do if they want to grow and scale. Like if you're just cool where you are, like just a one-man show and you just kind of have a few friends you do work for, that's one thing. But if you're trying to grow and scale, this is, like you said, it's almost not optional.
Even if you're
It's almost a
even if you're a one
requirement.
man, like yes, to your point, if you're just doing a little bit of work for your the people your friends and acquaintances, essentially, sure. But if you're a one man show that wants to maximize your one man show and be able to make it into the most that it can be. All,
Yeah.
Again, you can sort of, can you take a fake it till you make it type of approach to some of this? Absolutely. I mean, can you put reminders on your calendar to follow up with these things?
So
do that. But
here's an interesting story. Like one of the places we learned a lot about this kind of sequence marketing. Sequence marketing is simply like we send something, we wait a little while, we send something else. It's all in concert. It's a funnel, it's a sequence, or whatever we want to call it. And is from a guy by the name of Dan Kennedy. Do you know Dan Kennedy?
Yeah.
Dan Kennedy, outstanding marketer. Probably he's the godfather of what's called direct to consumer, direct mail marketing. He is a brilliant marketing mind. And I remember Dan Kennedy would tell the story of how when they were running, I forget which business they were running, but they would literally have stacks of envelopes. And it was like, okay, when we send out letter number 1, then we move that from the green stack into the blue stack. And then we wait, then we know that that one's in line to get sent out to the email letter number 2, and then we move to the red stack. And they literally would automate manually these kind of sequences of communication, understanding, again, this principle that says automation, follow-up, connecting with customers and following up with customers frickin' works. And it works every time. And I mean, my example recently, I reached out to a lawn care company. We were going to ask them to do a cleanup and some irrigation. And my wife and I hemmed and hawed, and we were going on this trip to London. So we're like, well, guess what? There's only one company that's still in contact with us. And I know it's been 2 months, but we haven't made a purchasing decision. We're still waiting. And that one company is going to get our business because our consumers buy when they're ready to buy, not when we're ready to sell. And so, yeah, not optional. So you can do it manually with human beings, or you can do it with technology. And in some ways, I feel like technology works. Well, it definitely works more consistently than humans.
Yeah, more reliable. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it doesn't require time. I mean, some emergency comes up, then you're out of work for a week. Well, now you're not actually doing those things that you needed to be doing. But
that could be kind of a fun experiment for you. Like, I wonder if we took in a week or a month would be better, how many hours of activity, like if you were going to manually do all the work Spraye did for you in a month, I wonder how many hours of work that potentially flows through a software like that. It would have to be a full-time job at very least.
If you're doing all the things, yes. If you're doing it, well, and depending on if you've got 100 customers rather than a one-man show can probably, depends, but they can usually max out around 400 customers or so and actually do that work. And but yes,
but that's my point. It's like what, and you pay, I don't know how much you guys charge, but $250 a month, and you get all of that full-time work being done every time consistently, predictably.
Yeah.
Which is again, I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm just so blown away that people don't do this.
One piece
or don't do it well.
Yeah. One piece that I would tell you too, that almost everybody misses is marketing again to cancels.
This is me giving you an applause. It's been something I've been focusing on with my clients a lot lately. It's like, hey, listen, we have a lot of people that didn't buy from us. We have their name and email. Do you have a good go-to reconnect email or text, or what's the?
I mean, in my head, I could imagine it, but yeah, I mean, just it doesn't have to be high pressure. It's just like, hey, we know that it didn't work out before. Just wondering how your lawn's doing now. If you're happy with it, we'd be happy to help you again. Let us know if you ever need that again. Now, don't ever. I wouldn't say don't ever, but almost never do that right away. But sort of at the beginning of the next season, sort of put those on in their own list and say, reach back out to them. Just wanted to let you know we have X, Y, and Z new with our program this year, whatever it is. It's, you know what? You're going to close very few of those people, but you've got them on your list. And
we were chatting with a guy from True Green, and he was spilling some secrets. I won't say his name, but he was saying that a third of their business came from that channel.
It's awesome.
A third.
I mean, they have a pretty large list of customers that canceled too.
For sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's low hanging fruit as long as you're okay with being told no.
Yeah. And they were literally like just hitting the phones. Hey, man, I know we chatted early last season. We just thought we'd check back in, see how you're feeling about your lawn. Wondering what we can do to like help you guys out. And again, like this is, I mean, they're doing it to your clients. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
So like one, we got to be really good and make sure that they're happy with us. But two, it's definitely a strategy we should be making. And at the very least, we should be automating something to say, hey, what's up? How are you guys doing?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is fantastic. Brian, this has been a great, great chat. I really, really appreciate it. So I know you said we weren't going to promote anything, but who is Spraye for? Like, who's your ideal client, and what is that? What do they look like if they're hunting for you? How will they know that you'd be the right home for them? Maybe
if you're spending if you do lawn treatments now, do you have to do 100% only lawn treatments and nothing else? I'll say no. So, if you do some maintenance, but it's not the main part of your business, or, you do some other number of things that aren't the main part of your business. But if lawn treatments are, and you find yourself doing a lot of these repetitive things, to notifying your customers, if you're spending a lot of time recording chemical use, if you're not getting reports and pricing based on square footage like most lawn treatments companies do, if you've been guessing at pricing whenever you go to a lawn and don't have a system in place that does it for you, if your customers aren't able to, this is going to touch on my other really easy money. If your potential customers aren't able to very easily choose from a list of optional services whenever they're going to their estimate, that you can upsell to them. If your technicians are recording things on paper or some other method in a spreadsheet or something like that out in the field, all those things are things that you really, and that doesn't encompass everything, but they're things that you shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be notifying your customers manually every time you come out. That all should be automated for you. So if you're looking for something that simply works for lawn treatment companies specifically, give us a shout. What happens is you'll get on a demo call with either myself or my co-founder Caitlin, and we'll walk you around the system. We'll ask you a whole bunch of questions. If you're not going to be a good fit for Spraye, we're going to tell you. And that's okay. That's what we'll do.
One of my great epiphanies has been that there are companies out in the world who literally win when you win. And that's it's not like, I wish we could change the word from vendor to partner to where it's like, hey, we've got a bunch of people out there that are going to be great partners with your business, and they're going to help you win because Spraye wins when you guys grow, when you get more customers, like their company improves and they make more money and they do better. And the more we can go out and reach out and partner with companies where we feel aligned around core values, where we feel connected about the type of people that we want to work with, the better our businesses get. And for a long time, I thought about like somebody calling me and trying to sell me something. I thought, that was kind of like an irritant to me. And I become much more inclined to say, how can we partner together? Let me see if there's opportunity there at very least. If not, we part as friends. But maybe the money I give you, and people are in business for a reason, money I give you ROIs to me in either time or money in return. And so love that Brian was willing to come on our podcast today. Brian, thank you mucho for being with us today. And good luck building a software company that's both powerful and easy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for
I shouldn't laugh like, oh, you poor soul, but man, it's hard. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Lawn Care CEO podcast. We hope you automate because automation friggin' works. Go do more good. Thanks, everybody.